Sometimes we feel an inexplicable restlessness, as if something greater is trying to communicate with us. Time slows down, small events gain significance, and seemingly random coincidences begin to align, as though the universe is guiding us toward a purpose. In moments like these, signs often emerge, subtle yet persistent, that seem to draw us close to someone who transforms our existence. This encounter is not accidental. According to Carl Jung's analytical psychology, these connections are part of a profound dynamic in which the collective unconscious and personal destiny intertwine. If you have ever sensed that a mysterious force is pointing you toward a particular person, get ready. In this video, we'll reveal 3 unmistakable signs that the universe is showing you that you should walk beside them. From Jung's perspective, significant encounters do not happen by chance. He coined the term synchronicity to describe coincidences charged with meaning, in which external events coincide with internal psychic states, suggesting a connection between our inner world and the outer world. When the universe seems to conspire to unite us with someone, this experience can be understood in light of that principle. Synchronicities manifest as symbolic signs, almost always laden with emotion, as if coming from the collective unconscious itself. Moreover, Jung teaches us that every deep relationship is a mirror of our own psyche. The figure of the other often embodies contents of our own shadow, denied or repressed aspects, and also projections of our anima or animus, the archetypes of our inner feminine and masculine. When we feel an irresistible attraction that transcends rationality, it may indicate that the psyche is seeking integration through that bond. The path of individuation, the core of Jung's work, proposes precisely this integration of our internal opposites. A relationship that arises with the force of destiny often compels us to confront our shadow and integrate forgotten parts of ourselves. That is why when the universe wants you to be with someone, it is not merely offering love, it is offering transformation. Recognizing the signs of this calling is not only a matter of perception, but of inner readiness. The soul knows when it is time to move, and reality responds with symbolic messages. It is up to us to listen, interpret, and allow this journey to transform us. All too often we are so immersed in routines and the noise of everyday life that we fail to notice the universe constantly communicating with us. According to Jung, this communication does not occur through rational means but through symbols. The language of the unconscious, and by extension of the universe, is symbolic, archetypal, filled with images, emotions, and signs that, if we pay attention, reveal deep truths about our path and relationships. One of the first signs that something greater is at work is the appearance of recurring symbols, vivid dreams, animals that show up repeatedly, numbers that keep appearing, songs that play at precisely the right moment. These are not mere random events. Jung believed that the unconscious tries to express itself through such images to guide the ego toward wholeness. When these symbols coincide with intense thoughts or emotions about a person, they likely point to a meaningful connection. This language also manifests through intuition. It is not simply thinking something, but feeling deeply, without logical explanation, that there is a hidden meaning in a situation. Jung valued intuition as one of the 4 functions of consciousness, alongside thinking, feeling, and sensation. When intuition tells us we are being guided to someone, or that that person has an essential role in our life, it is the unconscious attempting to make itself known. Another revealing sign is the experience of déjà vu, moments when we feel we've been here before. These are like cracks in linear time, indicating that something happening now has already been lived at a deeper level. In destined relationships, this sense of immediate familiarity, of recognizing a soul, often occurs as though that person has been with us long before we ever met them. The universe also communicates through blockages and repetitions. Sometimes everything seems to conspire to prevent an encounter, yet paths cross repeatedly. Other times people disappear and reappear at pivotal moments in our lives. These cycles speak of unfinished business, of lessons yet to be integrated. Jung would say that the self, the center of psychic totality, is orchestrating these repetitions to facilitate inner growth. Silence, absence, time, and even delays are all part of this language. A relationship that does not happen at the right moment may be being prepared by the unconscious to emerge exactly when both parties are ready. This is the difference between desire and destiny. Desire tries to control, rush, and manipulate, Destiny waits for the soul's maturation, then sends clear signs to those who have learned to listen. Recognizing these signs requires sensitivity and surrender. It is not about obsessively seeking answers, but about allowing reality to speak, unfiltered. We must develop a symbolic listening, one that is not only auditory but existential. When we are open to the universe's language, coincidences become revelations, and encounters become initiations. Therefore, if you feel you are being guided towards someone, observe the symbols around you. Pay attention to your dreams, spontaneous impulses, and seemingly mundane conversations that awaken something within you. The unconscious does not shout, it whispers, but when its messages are understood, they can change the entire direction of your life. A connection with another person can serve as the mirror through which the universe reveals who you truly are. And that recognition begins with the signs. Learning to read them is the first step in accepting the silent invitation life is offering, to unite with someone not out of need, but out of destiny. In every significant encounter, especially those that leave a deep mark, something beyond the surface is at play. Jung shows us that we frequently project onto the other parts of ourselves that we have yet to recognize or integrate. This projection is not just a psychological mechanism, but a symbolic bridge between our inner world and the outer world. When someone stirs intense emotions, be they positive or negative, they are often reflecting something in us that we have yet to see. And this is precisely why some connections feel destined. They arise not to complete us, but to reveal us. Projection is one of the central concepts of Jungian psychology. It occurs when psychic attributes, often from the shadow, anima, or animus, are unconsciously assigned to another. Initially, this can lead to intense idealizations, sudden passions, and feelings that we have found the right person. But that initial illusion is part of the process. Destiny often presents itself wearing the mask of enchantment, precisely to draw our attention to what needs healing or development. When the universe wants to unite us with someone, it is not necessarily someone easy to be with. On the contrary, the true alchemy of relationships takes place when the other person provokes us, challenges us, and pulls us out of our emotional comfort zone. It is in that field of tension that the individuation process occurs. It is not about finding a perfect match, but about encountering the one who mirrors our wounds and hidden potentials. That person is not half an orange, but the necessary reflection to activate the whole within us. Projections can also generate conflicts and disillusionment, but that does not mean the relationship was a mistake. Jung said that the purpose of projections is to prepare the ground for integration. When we realize that what we admire or reject in the other also exists in us, we begin to reclaim those contents into our consciousness. The other stops being a myth and becomes human, and it is in that recognition that mature love is born, a love that is not blind, but conscious, nourished by acceptance of imperfections and appreciation for the mutual journey of growth. Destiny acts through projections to confront us with what we are ready to see. Sometimes this vision is painful because it shows us our weaknesses, needs, and insecurities. Other times it is revelatory because it connects us with dormant talents, intuitions, and strengths. In this process, the other is like a living mirror of our unconscious, reflecting exactly what we most resist or most long to see in ourselves. When you feel someone has entered your life for a greater reason, it is essential to ask, what am I projecting onto this person? What do they awaken in me that needs understanding? Destiny unites us not only for love, but for evolution. And that evolution requires the courage to withdraw projections, face the reality of the other, and above all, face our own. Many people confuse destiny with permanence, but in Jungian psychology, destiny is more related to the purpose of an encounter than to its duration. Some people are catalysts. They enter our lives for a specific time, bringing forth contents we need to integrate. Others stay and accompany us on the individuation journey. In both cases, the relationship's value lies not in its stability, but in its capacity to transform. Finally, recognizing projections is a step toward inner freedom. Instead of expecting the other to save us, we begin to see them as a messenger of our own unconscious. And when that awareness awakens, encounters become more authentic, deeper, and more in tune with what the universe truly wants to show us. That authentic love begins when we learn to see the other as they are, not as we wish them to be. There are encounters that not only touch us but displace us. They change the course of our decisions, make us question the reality we were living, and reorient the soul toward something greater. When two people meet under the force of synchronicity, they are not just getting to know each other, they are recognizing one another on levels that the conscious mind can barely comprehend. For Jung, synchronicity is the manifestation of a deep order in which external events coincide meaningfully with internal states. In other words, it is as if the universe reveals through precise signs that this encounter is written in the hidden script of our existence. Synchronicity does not depend on logic, but on meaning. You think of someone and seconds later they call. You walk down an unfamiliar street and run into the person you dreamed about days before. You enter any environment and feel an inexplicable energy that seems to herald something important. These moments are not trivial accidents. They represent an eruption of the collective unconscious into personal experience. When it comes to human relationships, this kind of psychic attraction becomes even more potent. Jung believed that these synchronicity-charged encounters are orchestrated by the self, the regulating and organizing center of the psyche. The self creates the internal and external conditions for certain encounters to occur, not to satisfy immediate desires, but to propel the individuation journey. In other words, when you feel that someone fell from the sky, that everything seems to align around them, perhaps what is happening is that your soul is in harmony with a deeper plan of transformation. This psychic attraction manifests magnetically. It is not merely physical desire or intellectual compatibility. It is an impulse that transcends the barriers of time, logic, and reason. Often it comes with a sense of urgency, of destiny, that something grand is about to happen. In some cases, the mere presence of the other person triggers intense dreams, forgotten memories, or old pains. This happens because the unconscious recognizes that this encounter has the power to activate dormant contents. It is important to understand that synchronic encounters do not arise to keep us comfortable. On the contrary, they often destabilize the structures we have built to protect ourselves from self-knowledge. Deep psychic attractions force us out of the ego's defenses and put us in contact with our most authentic desires, and also with our deepest wounds. That is why, when you meet someone who provokes an internal revolution, you should not flee. Look at what is being activated. Ask yourself, why does this person affect me so strongly? What do they awaken that no one else does? Synchronicity also acts like an invisible thread connecting times and spaces. Sometimes two paths need to part so they can mature before crossing again. Other times, the encounter is brief but leaves an eternal mark. What matters is not how long it lasts, but the depth of its impact. Jung said that the self organizes events with symbolic precision. Therefore, there is no mistake when two worlds meet suddenly and transformingly. There is only a summons to listen to the soul's call. These encounters also tend to carry a sense of shared mission. It is as if both people recognize without words that there is something to be done together. A healing, a creation, a liberation. This mission is not always clear at first, but it reveals itself over time. When both are open to the process of individuation, the relationship ceases to be merely an emotional bond and becomes a spiritual path where both help each other remember who they truly are. Therefore, if you experience an inexplicable attraction surrounded by symbolic coincidences, do not ignore it. Investigate it deeply. You may be facing an encounter guided by synchronicity, a turning point in your personal journey. In those moments, trusting the invisible and remaining conscious is the best way to honor what life is trying to manifest through that bond. Some encounters are not just meetings, they are portals. Not every relationship's purpose is comfort. Some arise to provoke us, strip away our masks, and confront us with our own soul. When we speak of destiny or the idea that the universe wants us to be with someone, we often imagine harmony and fulfillment. But according to Carl Jung, a relationship's true fruition is not the absence of conflicts, but its capacity to lead us along the path of individuation, our journey of self-knowledge toward wholeness. Individuation is the central axis of analytical psychology. It is the process of integrating the psyche's opposites, light and shadow, conscious and unconscious, reason and intuition, masculine and feminine. It is a profound movement of return to the self, where a person becomes what they are in essence. In this process, Relationships are not mere emotional bonds. They are powerful psychic tools the unconscious employs to spur our growth. When the soul is called to draw near another, this impulse almost always comes with an inner urgency. Something tells us that being with that person goes beyond desire. It is a vital need, as though life can only move forward from that encounter. In those moments, the unconscious presses the ego to open up, abandon old patterns, and surrender to the relationship as a field of transformation. It is no longer about the other completing us, but about the other revealing us. Relationships born of this force tend to be intense, full of highs and lows, yet never superficial. They dismantle rigid internal structures and force us to face parts of ourselves we had forgotten. Anger, fear, jealousy, dependency, enchantment, ecstasy, all emerge as raw psychic material ready to be worked on. The soul recognizes in the other a living mirror of its contradictions and potentials, and it is within this symbolic field that individuation occurs. This kind of bond does not serve to repeat unconscious patterns, but to transcend them. If we pay attention, we perceive that the other shows us not only who we are, but who we can become. They provoke internal movements that challenge the ego, expand consciousness, and bring us into direct contact with the archetype of the self, the image of wholeness within each of us. Thus, the relationship becomes a true rite of passage, where not only love is tested, but the very meaning of existence. It is important to remember that individuation is a solitary process, but never isolated. It happens in the world, in relationships, in confrontations. Being with someone who stimulates our growth, who confronts us honestly, who does not feed our illusions but strengthens our truth, is one of the deepest ways to move toward our own center. This is the soul's call, to recognize in the relationship not just a refuge, but a mirror of evolution. That is why when the universe wishes to unite two people, it prepares them. It deconstructs, separates, reinvents them. Often before the encounter, there is pain, loneliness, and confusion. These moments are necessary because they fortify the internal structure needed to receive what is real. A love that comes from the self is not built on lack, but on wholeness. It is above all a meeting of two journeys, not of two voids. The soul does not seek perfect loves, but true loves. And truth in Jungian terms is never superficial. It includes contradictions, doubts, and tensions. But it also includes growth, lucidity, and above all, meaning. When the other becomes our partner in individuation, everything changes. The bond deepens, life gains direction, and love ceases to be a quest and becomes a revelation, not of who the other is, but of who we are alongside them. Thus, recognizing this call is accepting that relationships have a spiritual purpose in our lives. They return us to ourselves, not as we were, but as we were destined to be. Throughout this journey, we have explored the mysteries surrounding encounters that change life's course. We have discovered that the universe's signs are not random, but symbolic manifestations revealing direction. We have understood that projection is a psychic mirror, that synchronicity is the hidden language of destiny, and that the true connection between two souls is born not of desire, but of the self's profound calling. These relationships, far from being merely romantic, are paths of revelation, confrontation, and inner maturation. When we allow ourselves to hear the soul's whispers and the universe's signs, we make room for transformative encounters. And more than that, we begin to understand that every person who enters our life carries a silent invitation to go beyond who we are, toward who we can become. In this context, love stops being a pursuit and becomes a sacred tool of individuation. If this content resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, share it with those who need to hear this message, and click on the video on the screen to continue your journey of self-knowledge. Your destiny thanks you for every conscious step you take.